Have you ever achieved something big? Something that you dreamed about, that you prayed for, or you worked your tail off for, only to move right on to the next thing without even a breath of celebration? Guilty again and again and again. Not because I didn't think I deserved the pause. I did. But it was because I didn't truly understand the importance of the sacred pause.
This space honors all paths of connection, healing, and family, grounding ourselves in sacred teachings as we are anchored in ancient roots, ready to rise from the soil of our past. I'm Michelle Irene Stubsky, here to guide you through stories, insights, and spiritual practices that will help you heal and rediscover your true belonging.
The power within this moment that comes from receiving what you've created, honoring your journey, and letting joy land in your body. It feels good and it's powerful. So let's open our shared sacred space today by rubbing our hands together gently and feel the warmth of the energy awakening in your palms, your hand chakras that are connected directly to your heart as you place them over your heart space. And take a deep breath in and exhale slowly, releasing everything that brought you to this moment. Feel yourself drop into this presence as we begin. I want to take you back to a moment in my childhood. It was a time when I was just 7 years old. It was my birthday, actually, and standing on that mat at my gymnastic meet, my heart was racing as I prepared to do my routine, knowing deep down in my soul that I was going to nail it. I didn't need to shout it from the rooftops. I just knew. I smiled to myself as I performed, and when the judges called my name for first place, I didn't jump and cheer. I simply smiled and moved on to the next thing. Because on the way to that gymnastic meet, I remember sitting in the back of our Pinto. I think it was the white one. We had two Pintos. We were sitting in the back, and my mom says to me, "What do you want for your birthday, Michelle?" And I say, "I'm going to win first place." I didn't say I wanted first place. I said, "I'm going to win first place." And my parents, they looked at each other and they kind of prepared me for if I didn't win, it was okay. And they still loved me and yada, yada, yada. You know, the drill that we do as parents. We want to not set our kids up for disappointment in case they didn't win. But I did. And I knew in my heart of hearts that I was going to win. That win stayed with me, not as a moment of pride that I needed to broadcast, but as a quiet internal celebration, a knowing that I had done exactly what I had set out to do. But here's the thing. I didn't pause. I was a kid, but I didn't pause to truly reflect on the beauty of that moment and on the work that I'd put in and on the joy of the accomplishment. And I would continue to do this throughout my life, constantly moving forward without ever really giving myself permission to fully celebrate. But what if we changed that? What if we gave ourselves the space to celebrate the wins, however big or small? What if we allowed ourselves to receive from our joy our own accomplishments? Somewhere along the way, we were taught that celebrating ourselves is selfish and showy. That if we're not careful, we'll come across as being boastful. But here's the truth. You know how I love to share truths. Celebration isn't arrogance, it's alignment. It's how your soul anchors abundance. It's how your subconscious knows that you're safe to receive. Your spirit longs to be witnessed, even by you. And recently, I submitted my latest book to a publishing contest with Hay House Publishing, and it's been a long-time dream of mine to be a Hay House author. It was one of those, this could change everything moments, and I didn't win the contract that I was hoping for this time. But I did receive something just as powerful, an honorable mention. Now, I've got to be honest with you. I didn't know whether to cry or leap for joy because I felt both. My heart bounced between disappointment and celebration. And then it hit me. This is what this week's podcast is all about. There's no coincidence that my angels were preparing me for this moment. This is the win. Because this time, I chose to celebrate exactly where I was. I immediately texted my husband and kids, and I shared the news with my Write Your Book group. And then I danced in my bedroom singing Celebrate the Win with my mini Bichon poodle bouncing beside me. It was silly and beautiful and joyful, and it was so ever healing, celebrating all the joys in my life. It felt like I finally got an A on my paper, which may sound like a small thing, but if you've read my book, Flying Free, you know why this moment meant everything. Let me take you back to another win that I never celebrated. I was 17 and I had just competed in one of my final gymnastic meets of my high school career. It was Eastern Nationals, which was held at the University of Georgia, and I had been in first place the entire weekend. There's 2 days of competition. I was on fire. I was feeling confident and I was driven, and I'm like, this is it. But during the very last event, vaulting, I fell. And just like that, I dropped to second place. Now, let's be honest. Second place at a national meet, pretty darn incredible. Girls from all over the East Coast were congratulating me, but I couldn't feel it. I couldn't receive it. I stood there in tears because to me, anything less than first was a failure because I had it in my hand. It was a feeling of not good enough. And that narrative didn't start with that vault. It came from years of harsh coaching, a tough love, reverse psychology approach that never worked on me. And it left me feeling like I could never measure up. I was constantly getting kicked out of the gym for mouthing back and not meeting expectations or refusing skills that I feared. He was harder on me than anyone else. And I understand it's probably because he saw my potential, but instead of making me better, it made me feel broken, which part of me already was. Even when I competed at the elite level, yes, the Olympic level gymnastics, his end of career or his end of year evaluations still told me that I was unsatisfactory. I carried that word, that deep wound of unworthiness with me for decades, piled upon a bunch of other stories. Until that moment, decades later, sitting in a restaurant watching a Georgia Bulldogs football game with my husband, I remembered something. I remembered something about that meet. Something cracked me open. And I looked at my husband with tears in my eyes and I said, I finally see it. I've been chasing first place my whole life, not to win, but to feel like I'm enough, to feel like I'm worthy of winning. And that awareness was healing in itself, but it didn't end there. The deeper healing came when I chose to reclaim not just that memory, but many others as well, but not as a loss, but as a victory. Not for the medal, not for the title, but because I showed up. I gave it my all and I endured. I realize now that I've done that in so many areas of my life, from adoption to spiritual awakening to building this business and writing all my other books and coaching others. I kept moving to the next thing without celebrating the last, without pausing to reflect on the depth of what I had just created. Which is funny because in my Flying Free book, at the end of each chapter, it literally says pause and reflect. But that's what we're here to shift today, because celebration is sacred. And when we don't pause to honor what we've done, who we've become, and what we've endured, we rob ourselves of receiving the very energy we've been calling in. So I ask you now in this moment, where in your life have you been in first place but treated it like a loss? And what moment needs to be revisited with new light, new understanding, and new grace? When we skip the pause, we send the message to the universe that I'm too busy to receive right now. We create, but we don't anchor. We show up, but we don't reflect. This leads to the familiar spiral: more doing, less joy. But when we make space to celebrate, the energy shifts. And if you've listened to my episode on spiritual burnout, the breakdown that led me back to me, you already know how easy it is to fall into the cycle of doing, producing, hustling without receiving. That episode about the breakdown, that led me back to me. And this episode is about what we do next, how we stay in alignment. It's not about the hustle, it's about harmony. And the sacred pause is the portal to our next step. This moment, this celebration, was a continuation of that healing. So if you haven't listened, go back and check it out. A sacred pause that told my soul, you've done well. Let's rest here for a moment. How can you begin to celebrate yourself right now? Here are 3 ways to celebrate yourself spiritually. Number 1, create a ritual. Light a candle for every win, even the small ones. This is a part of my daily routine. Not only does it ground me in my practice, but it connects me to spirit, my ancestors, and my soul self, alongside the divine light. Connection of my higher power. Because a candle or incense becomes a symbol, a signal to your subconscious that says, this matters. I matter. You matter. It creates a neural pathway of reverence. It teaches your nervous system to rest in the joy more often. Number 2, speak your wins out loud. There's energy in your voice. We give the frequency of the win more power. We are putting it out into the universe in more than thought form, and we're giving voice to an energy that will gain momentum, and it will come back to us, and it will gather up goodness along the way, thus creating more wins, this beautiful cycle. And when you say your win out loud, even just to yourself, your throat chakra opens and your inner child hears, look how far we've come. It vibrates pride into every cell of your being. And number 3, journal the life you once dreamed of. So many of the things you're living now that you once wished for, I actually love going back through my journals to see how far I've come. In 2018, I wrote in my journal, become a Hay House author. I'm closer now than ever before. So I will keep speaking it. I will keep writing it. And I won't be hoping for it, because I will speak it as if it is already here. Ask yourself, what did I once pray for that I now have? What would my younger self be proud of today? This creates gratitude, clarity, and alignment, all in one beautiful sacred practice. So one last note about why celebration matters as a spiritual practice, because as a certified spiritual life coach, I don't just help people reach goals. I help them integrate them into their lives. We pause, we reflect, we witness, we honor. We see the divine timing. We appreciate the angelic support, and we have gratitude for the growth of our soul behind it all. Because every win, big or small, it's a spiritual milestone. It's a sacred message to keep going. You are becoming. You're not here to hustle until you break. You're here to co-create, to receive, to celebrate. And yes, I'm going to say it again, to pause and reflect. So in this moment, let's place your hands over your heart and take a deep breath in as we allow these words to circle within our body. I receive my joy. I receive my growth. I celebrate my soul. And so it is. And if this episode spoke to your soul, visit michelleirene.com for many free gift offerings, guided meditations, spiritual support to help you stay aligned and grounded every single day. And if you're ready to truly honor yourself, join us inside the Back to Me monthly gathering. It's your sacred space to pause and reflect, to remember, and to rise in your community. So if you're listening on a platform that allows comments, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment with a topic that you'd like to hear about on one of my next episodes. If I choose your suggestion, I will send you a special gift. So have a beautiful day and celebrate something about yourself right now. Do it. I dare you. See you next time.